You're still watching Daybreak here on Arise News, and it's now time for the press preview. And let's just go on with the first paper, our sister publication, This Day newspaper. It has as its headline, Obasanjo, Nigeria's inability to contain insecurity, he says, is a choice by her leaders. It has about 4 riders. Says current period unlike any other in the country's history. Terrorists killed 360, abducted 1,389 in 3 months in Kaduna. We just read that a while ago. Report indicates that what's happening in Northwest is more serious, potentially more dangerous than we've ever had in the Northeast. This is El Rufai declaring, explains insecurity high in a state because terrorists find its forest comfortable. And alleged failure, just down below that picture you're seeing there on the 8th Africa Magic Viewers' Choice, alleged failure in protecting judiciary. NBA replies Wike says, remark, inconsiderate, uncharitable. That story can be found on page 41. And then National Assembly in the orange color just below the This Day logo. National Assembly pressures Buhari to sign act that changes rules in the middle of the game with 2 riders. Analysts say proposed legislation will be for personal benefit of legislators. And Supreme Court joins Rivers State on clause 84, subsection 12.
Let's take a look at the Punch newspaper this morning. Its leading headline, Presidential primaries, uncertainty over APC-PDP delegates. List as Buhari delays electoral act. Let's take some riders. Nobody has exact number of delegates for presidential primary. That's the Von DG, and APC begs INEC for extension. Obasanjo team denies hotel plan for delegates. And just below that, we must re-strategize for Nigeria to change, says former President Obasanjo. That's on page 20. And also, Anambra gunmen shun Soludo's 60-day peace offer, continue reign of terror. An interesting report on the Punch newspaper, 7,256 Nigerian nurses left for the UK in 1 year. That's on page 9.
The Nation newspaper is leading with pressure on APC governors over tickets for senators and reps. Tinubu to Bauchi delegates, with you, I will win. Many Okada riders are criminals. That's according to the Commissioner of Police in Lagos. Well, he's alleging the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra are saying to Kumuyi, that's the General Overseer of the Deeper Life Bible Church, no crusade.
All right, The Guardian, aspirants lobby intensifies in APC-PDP 1 week to primaries. Just some riders there. It says move to adopt Udom as PDP consensus candidate builds up. Interesting. Wike blaster Tiku. Other aspirants for betraying PDP in 2015. Southwest PDP to speak with one voice at convention, says Makinde and Fayoshe. Badaru withdraws aspiration to back Amechi. Senate President begins consultations with delegates in Katsina, and Buratai drums support for Amechi. And then insecurity, the dark clouds over 2023 general elections. This is from the Guardian newspapers.
Well, on the global scene, let's take a look at the Guardian UK. Its leading headline with the photo of the Prime Minister, British Prime Minister. It says, fury as Johnson escapes Partygate with single fine. This comes as Whitehall party inquiry ends with 126 penalty notices and civil servants and advisors angered by police conclusions.
The Times is leading with doctors to give sleep app rather than pills.
Tories ask Johnson, the party's over, so what's the plan?
Well, for the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello, who joins us from our offsite studio. Emmanuel, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Let's get into it. This Day newspaper leading with what the former President Obasanjo is saying. He says Nigeria's inability to contain insecurity is a choice of its leaders. He was saying this in Ogun State as he was hosting the PDP presidential aspirant Hayatuddin. Now he goes on further to say that insecurity in Nigeria can be curbed in 2 years if the leader is determined to make tough choices. Now this comes as a report coming out of Kaduna State tells us that over 350 people have been killed between January and March, and 1,389 people were abducted. This is only in Kaduna State, and that's between January and March of this year. So what are your thoughts on Obasanjo's rhetoric when he says we need someone to make tough decisions? Is this administration giving a light hand to this insecurity situation?
What President Obasanjo is saying is that, look, he's already moving past this government. I think he's lost, the last time he spoke about this issue, he said, look, the Buhari administration has been overwhelmed, meaning that there is some form of surrender already as far as it's concerned. Some form of, the administration has reached its end of the road as far as ideas to deal with the security problem is concerned. So this is another way of saying, look, I'm giving up on this, but I'm looking forward to the future. So he's speaking to one of the aspirants. He's saying, look, the work or the job description for anybody who wants to be president next time should be how to deal with this security problem. And they're all talking about it, in fairness to them. But he's saying that what Obasanjo is saying is that, look, it's about ideas, it's about leadership, it's about the tough will to take tough decisions, to make really tough decisions about it. So the president is clearly just setting out the agenda for the next president, which sadly, this government actually ran, the government of Buhari ran on security as one of its pillars, apart from anti-corruption. The other thing it ran on was security, but it's an area that almost everyone roundedly has scored this administration very low. Those statistics from Kaduna State, Nkechi, like you say, just Kaduna State, clearly also telling us that there's been a fundamental shift, a fundamental failure in the way security is done. So the President Obasanjo, who should know this, the whole of this, is going past this administration, looking forward and saying that probably this government can't do anything about it, and telling whoever is going to be president to say, look, this is not an insurmountable challenge. It takes leadership, it takes goodwill, it takes the toughness to make tough decisions, the necessary decision. We've got serious problem. We need serious people in place that can solve the problem. So that's what President Obasanjo is telling, not just the man in front of him, but certainly anybody who think he is going to run this country. It's another, takedown from President Obasanjo, characteristically of him, of this administration and his fortunes as far as, or misfortunes rather, as far as the security architecture of the country is concerned.
Still talking security issues, Emmanuel, the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra is telling the Deeper Life General Overseer William Kumuyi to suspend his crusade, which is slated for Aba. And it comes as the Punch is reporting that gunmen have shunned the governor's 60-day peace offer. Emmanuel, is it time to speak with the gun? Is Professor Soludo that man who can take tough decisions?
Well, that's what President Obasanjo just said. What we just reviewed, that it's time to take tough decisions. And these are really tough situations, a situation where IPOB is saying that even crusade, a religious, gathering, shouldn't happen. It's a tough one. I'm sure there are many people who are looking inwards right now and saying that this has backfired. Whatever we thought this was going to represent has thoroughly backfired. So yes, it's time for tough decisions. It's time for boots on the ground. It's time to actually, like we told Soludo the other day, that maybe it's time for him to rethink his strategy. He came here, met with the leader of IPOB, and did those photo ops, but almost like a clear-cut rebuke from that segment. There were more attacks, and now clearly even shunning his offer of peace. So he has to really rethink the strategies. What does he do? Dialogue seems to be failing here. Reasoning, common sense, appeals, and even some form of give and take seem to be failing. So it's time to review all those ideas and strategies. And like President Obasanjo said, take really, really tough decisions that need to be taken.
Let's look at what the point, it's the same point still. Let's just look at the text line where he's talking about politics now. I mean, it says that APC PDP delegates list is uncertain, over as Buhari delays electoral act. And then the DG of Von Ositokechiku says no one really knows the number of delegates. Is it a question of the fact that maybe recently statutory delegates were added? And what do you make of this particularly?
Well, it's the delegates' show right now. It's their show, and they are having, a good time. They are having fun. That is, every 4 years, these powerful individuals that determine the fate of aspirants, and which is why I think, the National Assembly was trying to deal with that particular situation where it was trying to look for direct, primaries where, you get to line up behind the aspirant. Right now, the delegates are holding the aces, and they are, in most states, what you have is the crisis of those delegates, with some states having 2-3 different kind of lists. I know states where they're having those battles about delegates. So these are super people who determine what's going to happen to the rest of us, and and all sorts of stories around them, from Obasanjo, for instance, denying that because that's what happens. An aspirant gets to take these delegates, hide them somewhere, And so they control a lot of things, but some people think too that there's a crisis there. The National Assembly, for instance, trying to get the president to change, to do something with the Electoral Act in such a way that statutory delegates are also involved in the primaries. Many saying that as trying to favor the Senate president. We boldly reported on that last time. So it's a delegate show. Of course, the aspirants are going around talking to them, and it's difficult to know what a delegate is thinking, because you could go to him, appeal to him. Another person comes around, says the same thing, appeals to them. At the end of the day, they could nod in front of you that, okay, well, they're going to do the right thing. But again, other extraneous factors determine even how they're going to vote. Some delegates, of course, voting their conscience, some voting what they believe. Many people believe maybe some of them be bought over, and so that's the crisis. If we had a situation where we have direct primaries, maybe we won't make too much of these delegates as we are now. But right now is the delegates show.
On that topic, I like the way that this day coined the headline surrounding this topic. It says National Assembly pressures Buhari to sign act that changes rules in the middle of the game. Because really, the game has started. Elections, 2023 elections have actually started. I mean, tomorrow, the PDP State House of Assembly primaries will take place. And next week, all the other primaries are taking place as well. So the game has started. Buhari has still not signed that change to add statutory delegates, which is why some of the parties, well, the 18 politically registered parties have not been able to submit the list of their delegates because they are confused. Are we adding statutory delegates? Are we not adding statutory delegates? And now analysts are saying this might even affect the INEC timetable.
Yeah, and you can see some of the parties even asking for extension of time. It also just shows the kind of contradiction, the disconnect between parties and the electoral body, and of course those crises we are talking about, delegates, and suddenly the National Assembly trying to get the president to make those changes. And we've seen the relationship between the National Assembly and, of course, the president before over this electoral act. The fact that as far as the presidency was concerned, the National Assembly, betrayed a certain trust. So now we're waiting to see if, now that they thoroughly need the president to do this, whether he's going to do it at all. But he's playing his game close to his chest. He's delaying it. And we're going to see more of those kind of contradiction and confusion. Already parties are saying, asking for time, but INEC insisting that, look, the timetable is sacrosanct, is come to stay. But I just tell you the chaotic nature of our democracy here. Elsewhere in the world, these things are already very clear what to do. And, you know, that's again part of the problem. We're starting off on the wrong footing with not even getting the elections right. And the way the election goes, so goes the country. So that's why everyone is concerned about all of this. And this confusion needs to be dealt with.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel Bello. That's the president.